Hey, you guys, welcome back to the Big Potato Podcast. This is season 4, episode 1, with our very special guest, Ramon Gregorio. And tonight we are talking about big data. That's right, business insights, and of course, research, and of course, using that research and insights to better your business. In tonight's episode, you're going to hear a lot of stuff that Ramon had to say in terms of how you can use that data to benefit your future decision making.
One of the key things that I think we covered as well was balance between data and that human element. Yes, we're not trying to rely too much on gut feelings. In fact, we're trying to push that to the side. But it's still, based on the conversation, we'll understand the importance of having a balance between the two of them.
Yep, so stick around for tonight's episode. Make sure and tune in. Don't miss a minute of it. This is the Big Potato Podcast.
Entrepreneurship, it's all game. The Big Potato Podcast.
And welcome to the Big Potato Podcast. Yep. We are back. Back with a bang, better than ever. Season 4, episode number 1. Oh, guys, we have missed you so much. Thank you for joining us for season 4. Season 4. Yours, Shudi Kendall, my co-host, Stuart.
Hi, how y'all going?
How goes it?
As said, we missed you all.
We
Time
missed you
has
all so
passed.
much.
And one thing, you have to ask them, how we looking?
How we looking?
We have some branded gear now. Starting off the new season fresh and clean.
Yep.
New studio, as you could see.
Everything looking good. And of
Everything
course,
looking
as usual, we are your hub and your place to be for
Mhm.
entrepreneurial insights, the Big Potato Podcast. Thank you so much to our subscribers, our viewers, our listeners, our followers, our fans, and our entire community for supporting us for this now the 4th season. We hope that you'd have enjoyed all the content that we had to distribute over the last couple of years. And we have so much more in store for you in season 4. I mean, Stuart, we have so much. I don't want to get into too much detail because we already have our guest online. But we have so many things happening this season to look forward to.
So many things happening,
Yeah.
not just in our podcast, but globally.
Of course.
That we will obviously, we don't go down those conversations into those roads, that those tracks. We try to avoid certain conversations, but a lot of things will be happening on the macro side that obviously will influence some of the conversations we'll be having. So this season, I think, is going to be epic.
Epic. And I think that's the word to coin it for now. So this is your hub, as I said, for entrepreneurial insights. Remember, as I always tell you guys, we are the Big Potato Podcast. And our show does it already. It's light-hearted conversation, but full of blockbuster insights to help you on your entrepreneurial journey. Remember, we deliver those insights so that you could bring your business to life and to action. Now, tonight, we're talking about data. Everybody
Data.
hears the word data and they think, all right, well, maybe that's going to get my phone or device to work, but it's not that kind of data we're talking about tonight. We're talking about business data, big data,
Big
as they like to
data.
say, and we have one of the experts online. I'm going to introduce him in a bit. We're looking at turning consumer insights into strategic decision making, something that sometimes SMEs kind of overlook in their delivery. We're talking about taking the guesswork out.
A feeling.
Yeah, a feeling.
A feeling that, you see that? A feeling?
We're looking to discuss that tonight as well. And we have some big questions, We have some big questions tonight as well. I mean, do Caribbean entrepreneurs have a marketing problem? Or do they have a problem understanding their market?
Insights.
Insights.
Do they have the insights, and do they know what to do with the insights?
Do they know which insights to look at?
Do they know what tools to use?
Oh my goodness, the questions are already rattling
Yeah,
off.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you see, let me introduce the guest before we go further along. He is the founder and managing director of Lucent Research, a regional research agency operating across regional and international territories. Of course, he's a behavioral insight specialist as well, built his career on understanding people, culture, decision making, and of course, not just data collection. This is insights we're talking about. behavioral insights as well. He has led research across industries such as finance, telecom, FMCG, public sector as well, shaping policy, marketing strategy, and customer experience design. You know, you if you know is one thing about the Big Potato podcast, we don't just bring anybody and everybody here. We bring the best of the best. And I'm proud to say, a good friend of Stuart as well. Tonight we have Mr. Ramon Gregorio online with us. Ramon, welcome to the Big Potato podcast.
Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. Stuart is an old colleague of mine. We go way back, almost 30 years when we first.
Wow.
Hey. We go back sometime.
Yes, we parents on the light blue of St. Mary's. So I'm very pleased to
Yes.
be here tonight and to share my insights and to share my knowledge that I've gathered over the past 20 plus years. So it's really a pleasure to be on your podcast and to share any nuggets of wisdom that I can share tonight.
Thank you so much.
Of networking.
Importance of networking. We will have a
Being a
nice
small
discussion.
island. Yeah, and if you notice, many of the guests that we've had on have been people that we've known for decades.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Again, I don't like to age us, right? But for decades. But it's a small island, and it's the importance of being connected from a small age
Yep.
and not discarding your school network, because
Of
plenty of
course.
people from your school is people they rely on up until today.
I mean, we
know.
talking to two CIC
Two
boys here.
St. Mary's College
But
guys.
I
you
will
know,
always
Raza Taza.
represent-
See.
Before the noise get too loud in here, I would always represent for the real blue, the royal blue of Queen's Royal College.
We'll have
All right.
tonight.
But we are all comrades here on the Big
Correct.
Potato podcast.
Correct,
And Ramon, I really thank you for making the time to be a part of the podcast tonight. Tonight, as I said, is a special one. It's the first episode of season 4. So without further ado, I would want to jump into what caught our eye this week. And Stuart, I want you to go first because
Okay.
I know that this is an important topic and it's close to your heart.
What caught my eye, again, I wouldn't say this week because we've been off for some time.
True.
All right. But this is an article. The title of the article is 2026 Analytics Trends. Beware of the growing gap between AI and action.
Mm.
By Mr. Joe. I like how yes, you understand what I'm saying already. By Mr. Joe Christopher of BlastX Consulting, and it was published on the 14th of January this year, 2026. So, one of the main takeaways is that AI is delivering insights rapidly, but is your organization able to rapidly adjust and implement the insights? Because it's one thing knowing and another thing doing, right? And enacting and, bringing these things to the fore and utilizing it in a way to grow profits and so. But there were 4 main trends you're talking about for this year. Well, moving forward, right? 1, analytics tools are ready. Organizations are not yet. And I mean, they give you the main challenge and they actually give you the solutions. But I'll let the audience go to the article and read the solutions. But the first trend, the organizations are not ready. So the main challenge is making sure your organization alignment keeps pace with the AI enablement. That's a big challenge. Second trend, AI is collapsing the time between question and answer. The challenge with that now is ensuring insight, understanding keeps pace with the access. Number 3, proactive insights will replace reactive discovery. The challenge is that technology is ready, response structures are not. And number 4, deeper questions demand better collaboration. So the challenge there is that data is available, but insight still requires alignment. So organizations need to be as fluid as the AI development, so in a nutshell. So, I mean, the first one, the information is coming rapidly and you're not being able to respond to it. Remember when I'm going to use some triggering words now, all right? Remember when you used to have to use waker and ME Excel to crunch numbers.
Power BI.
Oh gosh, yes.
Mhm.
So it's more conversational now, where you could just input a question and say, give me this information, give me this insight, and it will appear in seconds.
In a particular format
You know,
as well,
so
right?
now again, is being able to use that quick, that rapid information, those rapid insights, and structure your business to benefit from it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's great stuff. I would really like to hear some feedback from Ramon on this.
Yeah, I mean, most certainly. I mean, AI is the big disruptor in the market research and insight space. We at Lucent Research, for example, we would use AI to augment some of the things and some of the methodologies that we use and that we provide for clients. What I would say though is that the human element of any of those AI platforms is still there's still that fine balance between the human element and interpretation versus
Mhm.
what the AI platforms put out. And like anything else, it brings most persons tell me, well, Ramon, we don't bound for market research and researchers and stuff anymore. We could just go on ChatGPT or any platform, enter our information and get a research report. And I'm saying, yeah, that's true to a certain extent. But what about verifying the data? Who's the independent
Mhm.
person who's going to look at the data and say, nah, this doesn't make sense? Or the prompt that you put
Mhm.
in doesn't necessarily answer the question, but it's really telling you what you want to hear. And so who is that expert, that industry hands-on person who has studied for a number of years to be able to interpret the insight from the AI platform? So it's really that fine balance between human understanding and human experience married to the AI platform. So the AI, just like any other paradigm shifting sort of tool in market research or in business intelligence, is really an aid rather than a dependent. You're dependent on it to be for survival. And I've
Mhm.
seen a lot of companies hold on to the AI platforms, they enter the different inputs, get data, but quite rightly, as you said, they're not sure what to do with the data. And that is where having the experience and having the expertise in market research or even in business intelligence and analytics comes in. So it's not a fly by night industry. People like myself have studied over years, understanding analytics, understanding business intelligence, and it's just marrying the two and utilizing and creating a powerful tool. So we always say yes, AI plays a critical role, but having that intelligence and a human intelligence and marrying it is really that makes a big
Mhm.
difference in the quality of insights that businesses could get.
Mhm.
I'm really happy with the response because it actually doesn't leave any room for me to say anything to comment further on that because it's quite clear that the marrying of the human intervention and interaction as well as the inputs and the outputs that you would get, from the AI definitely marry each other, as you say. And it's the perfect segue to go
Well,
to...
1 second, let me just add something to what Ramon was saying. You see how he said, is that data valid,
Mhm.
reliable, and valid?
Well, I purposely left that because I know we're going to come to that a little later on in
You
terms of the
know?
validity of data and what you get coming out of some of these AI tools.
Right.
But also what the main thing was from the article is about the output. When you do get your real data, your accurate data, your valid data, and they give you a real proper insight to action, is your organization able to do it?
Mhm.
You know, are they flexible enough? Are they responsive enough to actually use the insights? I know I've sat down in boardrooms with managing directors, CEOs, founders, and they still on paper trail.
Well, and
So
that's the beauty of our platform because, as we usually say, we empower entrepreneurs and business leaders. You know, the flexibility, the agility is usually a lot higher, with entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial activity. So you guys are hearing that. You're hearing about the issues in terms of the rigidity of some of the bigger companies. So maybe this is, you know what I always say, opportunity to flex and to quickly adapt and to make changes. So I'm going to segue quickly into my what caught our eye because we need to get down to the crux of some things tonight. And my what caught my eye this week is from NBA.com, believe it or not. Right? As you may know, Stuart and I are big sports fanatics, the NBA being one of our favorite sports.
Okay.
And right now, I think Ramon would agree that the NBA is one of the I think the best collectors of data and really mining and using that data to work for them in the best possible way. We complain about it all the time. Why they changing the game so much? So I went on there and as strangely enough, while preparing for the episode, I was just watching a basketball game at the same time, and that is what drove me to the NBA.com. And I got to the advanced stats page. So you guys could check it out on your own time. You go to NBA.com and you just look into the advanced stats. And I went to the glossary. There are over 270 points of data that they are measuring, metrics, basically. No, I don't want to age anybody here, but in my time watching basketball, I know about points per game, how many assists the player had, how many rebounds, steals, the basics, the blocks, and so on. Now they're getting down into attempts with the left hand from the right hand side, and this and that and the other. And it really, it stood out to me because I say in preparation for this episode, this is perfect because so many metrics, so many things being measured, but why? And one of the things that really caught my eye is, and a finance person used to say this to me all the time, what you measure shapes how you win. In other words, what you measure gets managed, right? And it helps you to make important decisions, right? Most SMEs are not underperforming, they're just measuring the wrong things. So it's important, as we said earlier, to make sure that you're measuring the right insights for your business. Sometimes, and this is a key one too, what you think is your best-selling product, or in the NBA terms, your best player by name, on the stat sheet, they may not be based on the advanced stats. So it's just like looking at your portfolio of products and programs or whatever your services might be delivering, and really doing that breakdown and that analysis to see, all right, well, what is really my performance? What's my cash cows versus what's my stars? If it is, we look at it from on that matrix, And I mean, there's so much to digest from this one look at the NBA.com glossary and the analytics. This decision making, this is an important one before I go to Ramon. Now, instead of the coach saying, well, I want you to play because I like how you're looking in training, or I like how you look on the film, they have to get into the stats now to see, well, is this guy, was he plus minus, as they say in the NBA, right? Is he really performing? So now it moves away from just being the eye test and looking at the critical analytics, the data to see what is performing. Now, this is important, and I think you're going to say it's very important, but I also have a question. Is there something as having too much data to measure? Is 270 metrics really necessary?
Yeah, I mean, yet again, everything in life is balanced. So, for example, what made, well, I am more of an EPL football sort of player rather than, I have an appreciation of basketball, but it's not my first love. My first love is actually cricket. And
Right.
the overarching theme is really the use of analytics in sport. And what you tend to find is that there, in the West Indies of old, for example, the teams that dominated in the 70s and the 80s didn't rely much on analytics, but they relied a lot on instinct, right? And as Stuart mentioned, you and Stuart had mentioned is that instinct gets you so far. As the game evolved in the late 70s, early 80s, into the 90s, technology became a bigger thing. So, for example, you'd often hear about players in the 70s and the 80s being overweight, being they have a gut. And cricket was known as a lazy man sport in some of those. So the West Indies had refined it with new athleticism. So you now had a bunch, these 11 players on the field, athletic, able to move faster, bowl faster, hit the ball further. And whereas these other guys in some of in the other Commonwealth countries, the England, Australia, and so on, were just about keeping up. And then what was revolutionized is that sports science evolved. And with sports science, analytics became a big part of the thing. So I was looking at my health, I look at nutrition, I look at my recovery time, I'm looking at my skill set and what the data says about my skill set in terms of spotting gaps and improving particular strengths that I had. But more importantly, looking at the opposition to be able to say, these are their weak points that we start to target. And very soon, the gap started to close. And that in itself in a nutshell, is what the beauty of data science and analytics does. Now, the team that performs well is not necessarily the most talented team, but the team that has done the most level of analysis and understanding themselves, one, what the data says about them, understanding their competitors, but more importantly, picking those key moments. So even the psychosocial part of sports, yet again, it's that human instinct is that part that you really can't regulate, but putting you putting you in the position where you have done enough scenario planning, you understand what the data is telling you, but the human element still comes into play. So Brian Lara is not a robot, but Brian Lara is a cricketer who has a particular level of talent matched with data and is able to now dominate. And I think that's a good story in terms of how sports has evolved. And you're quite right. And a lot of the NBA is a lot more complicated when I look at it now in terms of all the stats and all the data points. And you're quite right. But it is just par for the course. And I'll tell you something to liken it to entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs that are not embracing data, the entrepreneurs that are not buying into research and understanding their consumers better, are the ones that will be left behind, just like the West Indies in the 70s and the 80s, which is we are no longer a force in the cricketing world, not because of talent alone, but because we haven't improved our systems to be able to articulate and collect data in a meaningful way and use it tangibly. And that's exactly what the entrepreneur suffers from. Some of the small and medium-sized entrepreneurs not having an appreciation of data and different data points, understanding that each consumer breathes differently, speaks differently, thinks differently, and often is left behind because we cannot chase down that profit margin and making sure we make that dollar without understanding where the future dollar is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Well said.
Well, what I would add, there isn't much to add, right? But what Ramon said about balance, because I will keep it within the sports frame. With the basketball, it's better let two computers play against each other and let them run a simulation or something. That's the way it appears on screen right now. And the data wouldn't take into consideration that last 3 seconds of the game when the player hold the analytics in. He's a good player, but he's not the winning player. When he looks at the coach in his eye and says, "Coach, I have it."
Yeah.
The analytics not taking that into consideration. And they put that man in and that man hit the tree for the win, that you have to have balance. The coach has to be able to read. He will be reading more real time than the analytics.
Mm-hmm.
So he will have to be able to make those decisions on the fly and again balance what the scientists telling him to do, but what he feeling at the moment and who he has faith in at this spot. Yes, I know the analytics says this man, he's shooting 15% trees, but he could not hit this one.
Yeah, game winner, right?
They might have other people, analytics might say, well, give it to that man, but you might know. I wouldn't want to call any of the superstars in the NBA, but this man, I don't want to, let me behave myself. He won't hit the shot.
Yeah.
All right. Some fellas with some big beards and so that guy pandemic P. I call it names Paul George. These guys, don't give it to them. The analytics might say that's the man, but don't give it to them.
Well, I mean, as you rightfully said, even with the AI conversation, it's really the marrying of the human intervention, the experience of the human being, the nuance of the situation, the understanding that a machine can't always give you. And even the data sometimes, I had a director, he always said, the data will talk to you. It will tell you what to do. It will tell you exactly the story, but you still need that human, as Ramon said as well, in terms of that interaction to really finesse and massage it. So folks, that is, but before I close, what caught our eye? You mentioned you're an EPL fan. You're here sharing which is your favorite team?
Well, I still getting over the pain of yesterday. I'm an Arsenal supporter.
Oh my goodness.
So it's still
Arsenal and the West Indies? Arsenal and the West Indies?
Arsenal and the West Indies, a very potent combination to be following in 2020.
Folks, I think Ramon needs to take a break on that note. So that's what caught our eye for tonight. Stick around. The Big Potato Podcast Season 4 is on. What if your next big idea is already inside you, just waiting to be discovered? The future belongs to those who think differently and embrace new challenges. At our Design Thinking Workshop, you will unlock creativity, sharpen your problem-solving skills, and learn how to turn ideas into real impact. Collaboration, innovation, and transformation are at the heart of this experience. Get ready for something big. Further details will be coming soon. This is your moment to think, create, and innovate. Stay tuned. And we are back on the Big Potato Podcast. We empower entrepreneurs and business leaders. Yep, right here on this platform, this community. That's what we do for today's business landscape. Tonight, we're talking about business intelligence, data, analytics. Yeah. You know, some of those people think are just buzzwords right now, but critical for business success. And of course, online, we have Ramon Gregorio, the president of the Greater Tunapuna Chamber of Industry and Commerce, and of course, the founder of Lucent Research. So he knows a lot about data, about big data, metadata, whatever type of data. I don't know if he knows about phone data or device data, but we'll find out tonight. So, Ramon, tell us, I mean, before we get into some of the deeper questions, data, why? You know, why get into such an industry? What was the draw to it and really leading you to found Lucent Research?
Oh, very interesting question. While I studied in England, I did my master's in England in marketing. And as part of the prerequisite to the course, you had to do a course in research methods. And being exposed to market research in an academic way, in a particular way, it was very regimented. And in a particular, it was very set in terms of what you learned and what you interpreted, what you understood. You had a basic understanding of it from all your readings and whatnot. After the semester, I had an opportunity to work in London in market research, quite opportunistically actually. And I was able to work in market research for about a year. And I started to understand it from a practitioner's perspective, what the data was doing, what clients were asking for, so I worked in a call center, we conducted interviews, and I started to understand the value of data and what it could do for a business in terms of understanding your target audience. And came back to Trinidad in the early 2000s and started to work in the space in one of the ministries. I came back, I worked in the Ministry of Public Administration when I first came back for a 3-year stint, and was exposed to different practices. One of the things our ministry at that time did would have been the opinion leaders pool, which is a national pool of all the issues that affected Trinidadians and Tobagonians, and being exposed to data in that real tangible way to help inform policy, to help understand citizenry behavior and their feelings and their sentiments. I think that really opened my eyes. So just after that particular opportunity at Ministry of Public Admin, I started Lucent Research, my company, in 2007. So next year we're actually going to be 20 years old. And
Congratulations.
oh, thank you. And we started to explore the area, go a bit deeper into data collection, knock on the doors of some clients at the time, and try to assist in terms of bringing different methodologies and new methodologies. So one of the things we looked at, we scanned the environment and we saw what was being done. And we said, you know what, we could take one particular area and do it really well, get known for it, and then expand, which is the model that we had used and has served us to great effect. And that's exactly how Lucent started. So coming back, just being exposed to the space, but going a bit deeper, understanding, of course, going to training programs on understanding the core methodologies behind market research and being able to offer them to the market as an organization.
Well, you said that you chose one area, and you said you wanted to become, the man in that area,
Yeah.
the leader in that area.
Mhm.
What data you used to choose that area?
Yeah, one of the things I realized is that while there were other companies and other entities doing focus groups, for example, I was trained formally in focus groups by an international research consultant, as well as I went to the UK and I studied that particular skill. So when we came back, Lucent started off as a focus group research house, doing qualitative research, and we really did it well. We had a good team of persons, colleagues like-minded who had trained with me, and we started doing focus groups for small clients. The word started to spread, and then we went to bigger clients, and then we joined some international associations where we really were exposed to new methodologies, new approaches, which led to Lucent forming our own space, where we had our own one-way viewing mirror, we use technology. So long before the pandemic, for example, we were doing online focus groups where people could have logged in from wherever you are and watch a session in motion, and that was common practice for us. We didn't realize for the rest of the industry they were still a bit behind. So we became very proficient in that space for a few years, and then gradually we expanded our base. We started to add persons to the team who had different skill sets, and we built out core practice of both qualitative and quantitative research. So we started off as the qualitative research expert and wanted to be known for that particular area. And when we had a particular level of expertise and started to branch out, we got other players involved who then carried the practice to the next level.
Fantastic. I mean, a great insight for entrepreneurs as well in terms of using knowledge, passion, and drive. And of course, now, really meeting it out in terms of a niche to really get into. So a key lesson there for entrepreneurship as well, even inside of the data and the analytics and business intelligence conversation. All right. Now, in terms of turning this research, you talk about focus groups, you talk about qualitative and quantitative research. We're not going to get into the definitions of these things, of course, tonight. But feel free, you guys, if you need a broader understanding, send us an email and we definitely will help. But in terms of really data collection, research, and so on, I mean, I'm going to ask the quite obvious question here. How do people turn this research into revenue? How do they take this data, and say, all right, well, let me make this work for me? Because just like I gave you the NBA example earlier, and even in Stuart's What Quarter Eye, sometimes you could make all of these, you could do all of these things to collect the data. What you do with it is a different story.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times we have clients who come to us and they're not sure of who their target audience is. They are not sure of which markets that they're trying to have an impact on. And so my role as a research consultant is really to assist and guide that conversation. So before any intervention, I sit down and have a thorough interview with the client. And I make my notes and I'm saying, all right, because remember, a researcher comes in at a particular point in time in an organization's life cycle. And the entrepreneur has all of the information, the business owner has all of the information in their heads, or they have it documented somewhere. And I have to ask the questions to properly extract that data from them so I can make a really studied approach in terms of how we're going to approach your problem in a unique manner that will yield the best results for you. So it starts with an interviewing, and sometimes people know who their target audiences are. Sometimes people operate in a mass market, and it's for everybody is the target audience. So we sort of have to identify who the core audience is and how we want to speak to them, and what type of inputs you want, whatever inputs you want from that target audience, for you to create a product or service that really meets their needs. And that's what it comes down to, the basic marketing scenario. Having a product, but meeting the needs and continually meeting the needs and wants of the target audience. So they continue to grow the audience, to grow your business and make a profit. So it really comes down to understanding and us listening. When we listen, we make a suggestion based on our toolkit and the things that we have in our toolkit that can help make that decision easier for you. So it's an iterative process. It's listening, it's documenting, it's asking a few questions. So we are researching the client. We do our own online searches, of course. We ask other persons in the space, and then we come up with a formula or a proposal that we feel matches what you're seeking to achieve. And then it must be tied to your organizational objectives and your short, medium, and long-term plans. So we have seen the very best proposals go on the table. Persons have the clear direction, and then you have an organizational change or some disruption in the organization, and it gets cast to the side. So we have seen that also. But at the same time, we have seen some of the products that you use where we have done the research, we have got the insights, and it has made a gargantuan change in how persons perceive the product. And it's now in your home, in your hand. What you listen to, we have been part of those experiences in bringing those insights for our clients.
Insight is very important.
And most importantly, I love what he says. It is not one size fits all. Eh?
No, it's not. It's not. But I have a question. Well, it's not a question. It's a comment that I'll ask you for a response to.
Sure.
So, when you go to the grocery, you'll see the Pampers aisle, and then you'll see the alcohol aisle, and they're always very close to each other. Is there a data? Is there a data explanation for that?
Yeah, well, in the retail space, in the fast moving consumer goods space, there's a number of different schools of thought and studies that are done. So, for example, a supermarket will do a planogram study, and they will essentially do a study of where is the best placement for products in certain spaces in a supermarket. There are certain products that must be eye level. There are certain products that are complementary. So that's what you're explaining there. Next to the Pampers, perhaps you have the beer, or perhaps you have wine, or you have complementary products. So there's a whole science, retail science. There's a whole school of thought of retail science and where you place products, and then of course you have individual shelves where persons want to stand out, and they will design their shelves just to stand out because the supermarket or the grocery is really that massive competitive space, and everybody's jostling for your line of sight. So
Yeah. Yep.
there's a science behind it. Some places do it well. Some people, I have seen cigarettes next to Pampers already. I have seen I have seen rum next to, you name it, school books, right? So I mean, we have a bit to go, especially not only A-class type supermarkets who it's a studied science, but certainly in some of the mom and pop shop stores, the B-class mini marts and stuff, the science hasn't quite caught on there. It's more about a function of
Yeah.
space and having the space to store a product rather than the science behind buying, right? But
Yeah.
so we have some way to go on our Caribbean shelves in terms of using more of the science to how we place products and how we use products.
But, I mean, I would like to take that a step further before I go to the next question. No, you mentioned that in a physical retail space, but we are doing so much online retailing now. And we have so many local entrepreneurs either selling on their websites. I'm sure Karen Rose will be happy to hear about that. Or, on their social media platforms, where they display their products and so on. Is there any data science or any background on this as well that you guys have tapped into?
But what I would always say is that when you have an online store, it really speaks to the testimony, the video testimony. You have to see. So I'm not able to touch like when I walk into a physical store. But certainly having testimonials or having video displays of the potential of a product, I think very critical. And of course, those go think about Amazon, you're able to buy something, but before you buy it, you have to read all the reviews before you make but that's your only connection with the product. And then you have to make a discerning decision, am I going to buy or not? I feel I'll do a little deeper research. So very much in the same tone, if you have an online store, it's really about using the right graphics, using the right platform, using the right software to really enhance how your product looks. And I mean, think about going to buy a suit in the store or buy a shirt. You look and you sort of look at the size and you kind of gauge it and say, all right, I can see myself in that shirt. So that's exactly what the online person has, the online entrepreneur has to do. You have to really put yourself in the shoes of the customer and see how they will interact or how they will feel about your product and look at the very best elements to market that and to attract their attention. And that's what it boils down to.
Yeah. I see the importance of the data. The data will guide everything. So what is important? One important takeaway for me is that the young entrepreneurs need to not be afraid of numbers. Because as I said earlier, the data will tell the story and then you just need to act it out, right? But even when you as a young entrepreneur deciding what you want to bundle your product with, you need to understand the data behind it to say, we'll go back to the supermarket example. I might want to have I'm in the shelf, I'm in the retail space for my category, but I might also want to appear in a different part of the grocery as well.
Your market basket analysis?
Market basket analysis.
Oh my goodness.
So where do I want to, like for instance, if it is you have a dishwashing liquid, sometimes you might get a dishwashing sponge with it. That's the basic example, right? So it's just about understanding, again, for the young entrepreneurs, that you need to understand what's happening around you, the science around what's happening around you, and the numbers and the data that could make decisions that it might seem like a simple decision after, but you didn't know before, but a simple decision that could impact your income, your revenue, your profitability.
Oh, would that be, let me ask the expert, would that be market basket or association?
Classification analysis.
Yeah,
Classification tree.
market basket analysis.
Okay, right, perfect example. We remember something at
Yeah,
least,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know. I mean, no, this is critical stuff, folks, and I mean, I hope the entrepreneurs are seeing the importance of why these insights are important. And I really asked about the online space as well for a reason, because online you have so much more opportunity to gather data. Most of these websites and social media platforms, they give you the analytics, Ramon.
Yeah, and I mean, you have data points like you have never seen before. And it's a lot easier, I would say now, once you have the handle of the whatever platform that you're using, you have all the attendant metrics in the back end that you could use. So on Facebook, for example, you know where you're reaching, you know who clicking your stuff, you know how many views you have, and you're able to turn that into actionable insight. And so I always say, especially young entrepreneurs, it's yet again, but the basic tenets come back. You have to know who you're targeting. You have to be able to understand. So you talk about the 5 Ps, or something. Well, depending on where you sit down, you have the 7 Ps, the 5 Ps, the 4 Ps. It all you have to still understand your mix. And that's what it comes down to, whether it's online or in person type products that you have to understand your mix and how that mix plays. And in understanding that mix, you have to understand. And I always say, a young entrepreneur may not have the benefit of going to a market research firm, but you have a mouth, you can ask questions. You have eyes, you could observe. So you could stand in the supermarket and you could watch, and you could see a particular type of behavior, and you ask a question. So why did you buy that particular product? What about it? Was it the color? Was it? And you could ask your own questions, and then sort of formulate your own opinions about, okay, for my product to stand out, and based on what I've observed, and ethnography is a very big part of market research that sometimes goes a bit unheralded in our markets. People know the focus groups, people know surveys, but just standing and following people in supermarkets, not when I say following, not in a predatory manner, but in a manner where you can observe from afar and understand and watch the behaviors before persons make that decision. So you as an entrepreneur, you really have to, and then you have the benefit of a lot of videos. You have a lot of content now that you could sit down for hours on YouTube and watch videos on a particular, how persons in your particular space do it, or where they started from. So the point is, there's so much information available. There's so much data available that one could now use and translate into success. And I did it when I started with Lucent. I sat down and I watched videos of other market research firms. I sat down and I watched people conduct focus groups. I sat down and I listened to podcasts on data collection and survey design. And I sat down for copious amounts of hours looking at it, understanding the space, and then saying, okay, based on all that I have seen, this is the product that I want to put out into the market because I feel it's the best bet in this market. And truth be told, it was correct. So you have to use your entrepreneurial instincts and always trust your entrepreneurial instincts, because the fact that you want to get into a business means there's a desire beneath the surface that you're trying to bring to the conscious level. But more importantly, you have to do the groundwork and roll up your sleeves and do the research. Very much like what the Australians did with the West Indians back in the 70s. They did their research, they observed and they watched, and they create a product now that is standing the test of time. They've won their umpteenth world title just a few years ago. So that is the benefit of observing, understanding, and making modifications to your product to make it the effective one.
One of the most underrated data collection tools. You see observation, and we know about observation. Multiple projects.
We know that people will say whatever they want to say, but when you observe, you actually see what they do.
Yes,
right. Perfect example when you ask people, what improvements you want in the airplane, right? And I want safety, I want this, that, but at the end of the day, they don't want an airplane. They just want to be zapped from where they are on a payday. So make that. Instead of everybody giving what they think is supposed to say. I want better safety. I want more leg room. But they will say this, but they have to dig deeper and, observe and really see what they really want. People say anything out there.
Yeah, finding ways to reframe the problem, and we'll be talking a lot more about reframing problems this season. Don't worry. Now, before we take the break, Stuart, you look like you had one more question that you wanted to ask before you take the break, or
Well, it was more or less covered, but I would just ask, what are, like, if you had to limit down to three, the someone now coming out of school and they're looking to start a business, I know it will be industry specific, but just three general data points that they should be measuring, whether to decide whether they should move forward in that business, with that business idea.
But I'll even use myself as a particular example. I did a degree in accounting, and to be quite honest, accounting was something I hated with a passion after a whole degree for 3 years. So what I would say is that you have to have an open mind. And I transitioned into marketing just by being sort of inquisitive, being sort of curious about the space, and started doing my own investigation and started to read up on the space and realizing I really have a knack for it. I initially started off with a knack with sales and being able to communicate and chat with people and understand and bring across concepts. And then I went a bit deeper down the rabbit hole and went into marketing and understanding the core principles of marketing and studied it eventually. So I would always say for a young entrepreneur to have an open mind. You may have done a course of study when you left school that you want to continue in. That wasn't my experience, but that doesn't mean that's not somebody else's experience. I would always say, and that open mind, you really try to soak in from as many environments as possible. So one of the things I would always tell people that I think makes Lucent a little more successful or a little more innovative is that we don't just go down the market research path. We look at space in customer service. We look at things from the finance space. We look at production. We look at different areas, and we take some of the little pieces from them. So that's part of having an open mind. And when you have that open mind, you're able to look at a product or look at your service in through a particular lens, and you're then able to adapt it, and it seems very unique for the customer base. So I'd always say, have an open mind, sort of learn all the things that you need to learn about your particular product or a particular service that you want to bring to the market. The same things we talk about, the countless hours of videos, refining your product, listening to people, and then don't be afraid to innovate. So once you have that product, you can't get stuck in a rut where you're going to do the same thing for the next 20 years. No. Lucent has reached where it has reached because of innovation, sometimes forced innovation. I don't want to sit down on a pulpit here and say that, yeah, we are industry leading changes. No. Sometimes we have responded to an international or a local or regional change that we see in the market, where we add our own twist to it. So it's always about being receptive to feedback. So you can't be a research, for example, and not be accepting feedback. And similarly, if you can't be an entrepreneur and not have thick skin, because there are a lot of people that throw darts, they throw spears at your dreams, as everybody would know. You have the naysayers, but it's really having that sort of level of consciousness about your product, that belief in your product, that belief in and having the right mindset, I think is what sets apart the more successful entrepreneurs from the ones who just do okay.
yeah,
The man in the arena, boy.
yeah, the man in the arena. Yeah, I'm telling you. So, I mean, this is where we wrap up this segment. Of course, I mean, I have a big question to ask Ramon inside the next segment, which is really data versus vibes. Because, you know, we in vibes land here in Trinidad and Tobago. So, big question coming up inside the next segment. This is the Big Potato Podcast, my friends. Remember, we empower you, yes, you, each and every entrepreneur and business leader out there for today's business landscape. Stick around. From Ibadan to Helyard is a journey that spans continents and centuries. It's the story of how, through adversity, innovation was born, giving rise to the steel pan, a sound now celebrated around the world. This isn't just a tale of history, it's a testament to sovereignty, to the unbreakable spirit that transforms struggle into legacy. Stuart, Fortuné's Amazon bestseller and its Grammy-considered audiobook invite you to connect with your roots and understand the power of resilience. It's a movement for those who want to know their history and step forward with wisdom. Follow From Ibadan to Helyard and get your copy at paper-based bookshop, Scribbles and Quills, and your favorite online retailer today. And we're back on the Big Potato Podcast. Thank you guys so much. Of course, remember you could follow us on all platforms at the Big Potato Podcast. find us anywhere that you stream podcasts. And of course, if you have any comments, feedback, or questions, you can send us an email at thebigpotatopodcast@gmail.com. One of your favorite segments, I think this one is quickly taken over as their favorite segment in the show now. But we will do the data and the research to prove that.
Okay,
to
yeah.
make sure.
Yeah.
I can't just say that loosely because then I would just be on vibes, right? But we'll come to that.
Better see how the curve go in the playback.
Yes, we have to look at the data. This is Would You Rather. We have to get our sponsor for Would You Rather. So I just put in that out
Sponsored
there.
by Lucent Research.
Yeah, oh, it sounds
sound
good.
good, eh?
That has a ring to it, my friend. I must say. I couldn't have said it any better. This segment, quick. Would you rather A or B?
Sure.
So I'll go first this week. Would you rather know what customers say they want or what their behavior proves they actually do?
B, what their behavior proves what they actually mean is what you said?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, B.
And I guess if you could just give a little perspective on that, that would be because of what we spoke about earlier in terms of observation.
Correct. Yeah. Most times, I mean, sometimes it's not what is said, is what is a behavior. So while somebody says something, I actually watch the actions a little more closely to be able to form an opinion on what they really mean. So the eyes always tell you a story, or the hands or body language versus what comes out of the mouth sometimes. The mouth is the last thing I listen to or look at.
Well, I have to agree. I mean, I said it just now.
Just said it actually.
Indirectly. That I mean, people say whatever they want, but you really have to see what they're doing.
Correct.
They might say they're on a diet, right? Or in the grocery, as Ramon said, you follow them in the grocery, you see the basket full up with donuts, and you said you're on a diet, brother.
It's a seafood diet, as you think.
I said a soft drink, I said this or that. Nah. Actions speak louder than words.
I understand.
So what did you give your response?
Well, I agree. It's really action speaking louder than words for most of our projects that we work on. Observation, as I said, one of the most underrated, I think, data collection tools in terms of really looking at what is happening, understanding what the person is doing just from their actions and body language is critical.
All right, so let me see if I could put you in a quagmire here. Would you rather have perfect data with slow execution or imperfect data with fast execution?
I would say perfect data with slow execution. There are some times, for example, clients would come to us and say, "I need this now for now." And then when I say, what you need, what you want to find out? I say, but to find out that, to get that data for you and to collect that data, it will take X period. But no, we need it in 1 week. I say, yeah, but are you willing to compromise some of these standards and compromise some of the methodology that we're going to apply to get that data quickly? So let's do it at our pace. We'll do it a little faster as much as we can to accommodate your timelines. But at the same time, let's do it at the right speed, collect the data so we could stand and it could be valid, it could be verifiable, it could be reliable when we all reflect on it X weeks later. So A, slow, but perfect.
Perfect, right.
Slow and steady, that's my mantra. And we get there, because inputs, outputs as well. You don't want to be going in there with the wrong data inputs. I mean, you're not going to get good outputs if it is you have imperfect data. So I definitely would take my time and build out the data, and we build from there.
Correct.
Well, to me, it's not as easy as that, because is any data perfect? So that is a trade-off there. And sometimes if it takes too long to implement, as I said in the what caught my eye, sometimes it might take so long to implement the data that the data not relevant anymore. So it is a bit tricky. But again, as we mentioned many times before, balance and everything, right? So you get the best data you could get, but obviously it's not today for tomorrow, as Ramon said. We have to at least have something that as a company, a brand, right? This, right? So it has to be something that could stand up. But I'm not too sure if any data will ever be perfect. And I still see the importance of being able to respond to the data in a timely fashion. So, but if I have to give an answer, It's hard, boy. It's hard. It's hard. I will. Not different. Yes, I'll go with B. I'll go with B.
See, this
Just because the fact that I don't think any data is ever perfect, and they still need to. I'll go with B.
This,
Just to be
this,
different.
this is one of those types of clients, Ramon, that you were mentioning. He is going to want the results and the outputs by tomorrow.
No. Still has to be realistic, but I can't wait until next year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
understood.
the
understood.
world is changing rapidly.
Yeah, the
And
right
I
word
take
is
that
balance.
point because-
balance is the right word. Correct.
balance,
Yes.
and I take that point because, you can't be caught in I guess, analysis paralysis.
Ah,
You
boy.
just
I love
overanalyzing
it.
for decades and not
Mhm.
making any decisions. So,
Yep.
folks, that is Would You Rather, soon to be brought to you by somebody. We'll find out who. The
We'll find
sponsors are looking on. I know you guys are looking on. We'd love your support. Now, before we wrap up the interview tonight with Ramon Gregorio, of course, of Lucent Research, make sure and check him out. Make sure and send him an email. He can help you with your business problems, to help solve those and to bring some greater insight to them. In Trinidad and Tobago, Ramon, and even in the Caribbean, I guess you would tell me, based on your span of service, what is it about us having this vibes and this, I guess, intuition, which is natural, this gut feeling, this I don't know that already about us, that we rather look at that and take that than take the insights coming from data research, marketing research to really make business decisions?
Well, I think the fact that in our culture, we don't come from a culture of documenting important milestones. So, for example, you'll see over the years, for example, that somebody could just tear down a building in Port of Spain without understanding the context of what that building served for our society. You name it. There are multiple stories of those circulating in the media. And our market research environment is a very young one. As a matter of fact, our market research environment is about 30 years old, which in the scheme of things is quite young. And we have come a long way since when I first started in Lucent. You had persons who, now we don't need research, Ramon. We're doing this thing long enough, and until they reach a critical juncture where a different demographic started to use the product or not use the product, and sales started dip. And most Monday mornings we get a call, sales dropping, Ramon, we need to understand what's going on. We need to do some market research. So you have a more discerning manager coming out of university now who has been exposed to research and understands the benefit of it, whether it's through a project that they did or through a dissertation or some course of study that they have done, or even from their work experience. And they now come into the market with a better appreciation of research. So the industry has moved. The needle has moved to the right, I would say, considerably over the last 20 years. And then a lot of clients who I would have started off with in their formative years are now at managerial and senior positions. So they have kind of grown into some understood and have seen the evolution of data over time and what it did for the organization or any product or any service that they were involved in. So that vibes feel it's a dying. I would say it's dying with the older generation. Those the boomer type, late Gen X type silents who have retired or about to retire. You tend to find that they have not been great exponents of data. So some have the more innovative thought leader type ones. But generally, what I'm seeing now is that persons are open to market research practices, they're open to data intelligence, and they understand the need of it because sometimes it's tied to a KPI that they get a bonus for or compensated for. And if they're not able to show the tangible results why sales are falling or understand where sales are falling, and we put this mechanism in place to improve it because we have data now. It's tied to their livelihood. So sometimes it's a bit by force, but I think generally there's a bigger acceptability now of data and that vibe feel. I mean, in some pockets of our culture, we still see it. So, for example, we have the age-old conversation about carnival and improving the carnival product. And we hear over the past 20, 30, 40 years, we're talking about we have the greatest carnival on earth and the best carnival. And I think every year that we have that conversation, we actually get closer and closer to not being the greatest carnival on earth because why? We don't measure carnival. We have very entry-level measurements of carnival. So persons come, how much you spend, where you jump up, the places you visited. But there's more. If you're developing a carnival product, you have to also look at the enhancement. What will make me not go to Brazil Carnival or Crop Over or Miami Carnival next year and come back to Trinidad? What's the product that we have? And if we treated our carnival product like a product, like an actual physical product that somebody experiences and somebody interacts with, the data collection that we do on the data points surrounding carnival will be richer. So you'd find that every part of the consumer journey or every part of the visitor journey, I will be tracking and understanding what's going on here. So I get off the plane, I go buy, I buy doubles here. How many doubles I buy? And then I go to this event. Which events am I going to? So as a the NCC, for example, or the government of the day, you really have this treasure trove of data, which, for example, you see elements of it with the flavor and what the possibility is. You see that it could work if you have a designated area for food. So what other elements of it could really centralize the flavor and have that year round? And now all of a sudden, foreign forex coming in. And then we're supporting local artisans who could, the best cooking in Mayaro could come out on a Saturday night now and have the flavor in Mayaro and a flavor in here and a flavor. So, in other words, that may not, I don't know if it came from data, but it suggests that if you collect the right amount of data, the type of data you collect about the carnival product, more flavors of flavor type products could evolve. And that's how the carnival will evolve, and the experience will be different for somebody from year 1 to year 2. So if I come to carnival now, I want to make sure I go back for that experience, because carnival is that feeling thing. You eat the food, and but that feeling that you have when you come here, elements that you're trying to capture to make that person come back. So that is where, from a macro standpoint, if we use data and the big data we have hundreds of thousands of people passing through the streets on our carnival Monday and Tuesday, but they're just going in there passing, and we're not capturing the data from them to enhance the product. And I think there's a big miss culturally. And if you could get it right, you'd see carnival product enhance and go to the next level, irrespective of if Marshall has a hit or not.
Well, a wise man once said, carnival is a science. Carnival is science, right?
Carnival is a science.
A wise man. Yeah, a wise man once said that. But my question, surrounding data, yes, entrepreneurs, and not just locally, but across the Caribbean, we have a lot of challenges. But speaking about data specifically, what is one data-related challenge that once we remove that, it will allow for exponential growth for our entrepreneurs?
I often think that market research and research studies should be taught a little lower down the scale, the supply chain, which is starting in primary schools. And even the way we teach our students, it's this essay exam that everybody crams, and you learn a particular style of writing an essay. You do the same type of sums. But are we teaching our children the critical skills of researching? Because it's learning by rote. And then when you go into secondary school, sometimes, depending on the school that they go to, it's a magnification of that SEA experience. So I always say introduce research and those critical research skills at primary school level. And you'll tend to find a different type of secondary school student, a student who critiques data, who challenges information, who does their own research. And then you see research is the foundation for everything you do, as you go higher in your education, whether it's sciences, whether it's business, whether it's the languages. Being exposed to research, and it goes back to the original thought I was telling you about having an open mind. It really brings bodies of knowledge together, and then you make what you want of it in creating a career or creating a business as you evolve. So teaching those critical skills at the primary school level, I think, very important. So you have these SBA type projects that you do at the end of Form 5. I think even in secondary school, it needs to come earlier in the piece so that it really builds critical thinking. Because a researcher has to have an open mind. And you tend to find that is where we develop a more innovative citizen. Will come out of the school system. And then some of the challenges we have in the school system of people falling into these boxes, you'll see other types of career kind of sort of mushrooming out of it. And then you'll see different types of products and services that we start to create locally. And then all of a sudden, you know what? We become independent, not only in body and mind, but actually resource-based. We have an independent group of people now who thinking differently, who thinking critically, who researching, who collecting data, but making a difference. And I say it starts from there. So it's not really And that's my fundamental wish, that if the Ministry of Education or is listening, it's really about really inculcating and changing our syllabus to make a more open-minded student, because we have too many of these factories where you go and you learn and everybody passes their first choice and it's maths, English, sciences, and so how many lawyers and how many doctors we're going to have again? That's
Yeah. I
a
agree.
challenge, right? We're going down this road, and I mean, it may have worked in that era, but it's a different space and a different time and a different energy, and the youth is so shouldn't be limited in how they're thinking. And we as the practitioners, the policymakers now, when we put in those positions, we need to challenge the systems, and if we want to see a different citizen. And data is the key to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fantastic point, and I'm glad that you raised that question, because I'm very happy about the response as well, because let me tell you, right now, the children who are going to school are going to be the adults of tomorrow, or the future, let's just say. So what sort of future do we want to have? What sort of society do we want to have? Do we want to have a society of people who could regurgitate well, or do we want to have a society of people who are innovative, have critical thinking skills, understand the best questions to ask, the best problems to solve? You know, what do we really want? And that's the question. So I applaud that statement, and I really wish that, you know, some changes could be made as we go forward. I just have one question before we wrap up tonight. Well, I have a few more, but in the interest of time, switching gears, of course, now to one of your other hats in terms of being the president of the Greater Tunapuna Chamber of Industry and Commerce. For entrepreneurs, for our audience, whether it be seasoned entrepreneurs, I would say young entrepreneurs, business leaders, even SMEs, what's the benefits of being in a chamber? Not necessarily yours, but just generally speaking, and how does one navigate that space?
Yeah, I mean, I always say a chamber life is it's something that you get from it what you put in. And when I first started, for example, it was really about networking, meeting like-minded entrepreneurs, sharing similar experiences, persons who have at different stages of their business development. You can share, you can learn. Sometimes as an entrepreneur, you think you're having the challenge and it's a unique challenge to you. But in actual fact, you have a group of cohorts who have the same challenge, and sometimes having a discussion, open dialogue to be able to share insights, and having that conversation where you can network, and somebody could say, around, you know, you could talk to X person here if you're looking to get a loan, for example, or Ramon, you know, this person here really need, and so it's really a pathway to development for an entrepreneur. I would always recommend Chamber Life, because you can serve on different committees, get more involved in your community, get more involved in the issues of the day that affecting your business, and really be able to represent and be a voice of your region, or be a voice of the country, depending on the chamber that you join. So I always recommend entrepreneurs join it. Just sort of sit down on the shoulders of the persons who have gone before, sort of listen, be able to interact, don't be afraid to ask questions, and do the same thing, research. So it's on an altruistic level, it can help build your business, but certainly on a development and professional level, it help you give back to the community in a real unique way that sometimes is a real intangible way. It's a feeling, giving back to the community, and people benefiting from what you do. So I'd always say it's part networking, part growing your brand, but at the same time, part giving back to the community. And if you're an entrepreneur that is serious, the community grows with you, and organically you will grow also once the community sees the output. I have seen people come to Lucent, not just because I'm the chamber president, because I've been so inbred in the community and part of the community, and I walk alongside them, and the strangest persons refer my company. Sometimes I don't even know, and say, hey, why Ramon, and think he will sort you out, and they don't know if I could do it or not, but they knock on my door, say, yeah, I could probably assist. If I can't, I point them in a direction where I can. So it's that spirit of camaraderie that a chamber will always provide for an entrepreneur.
Fantastic.
One thing I remember was, I believe, is with the flooding, when you're able to galvanize the chamber and go out there and accumulate resources and give some sort of relief, you know. So the chamber, I mean, no man is an island. So obviously, when you put together the resources of a chamber, you could make positive impact. And, we like to talk about, making that positive impact in the community, in your country. Not just make money,
Mhm.
but make a difference, right?
Of course.
So I just have one more question. I know you also use data to scale businesses, all right? But if you were to look at the size of the average business in Trinidad, most of the businesses are SMEs, right?
Right.
But people always look at it as a disadvantage. But what are some of the advantages? Not some, or what is the main advantage of the fact that we in a small market and we have so many SMEs, for the entrepreneur? What is the main benefit he could get that he could capitalize on to then scale his business?
Well, I would always say coordinating with other like-minded entrepreneurs or looking at your value chain and seeing where you have synergies. So I always say, for example, I have a team of core report writers, for example. But then I also have a team of external persons who, for subject matters, I will bring them in as part of the consulting team to be able to execute. So the benefits of that is that we have a very educated pool of business owners um, who would have been formally educated or informally educated. And we have a very tight network of persons who I would always say develop a tight network of persons that you can pull different skill sets and create. So you really get the benefit of the sum rather than individuals just trying to figure it out. I've seen, and very early in the game, I always felt that was a model for Lucent that I wanted. So all my professional colleagues, I would pull together and utilize their skills, of course, paid as necessary to be able to build a stronger brand for Lucent. So I always say the benefit of our SME market is that you have people doing some really good stuff, but sometimes in an individual mode. It's about being able to galvanize them, synergize their skills with yours, and create something that in some cases, very unique and innovative for them that the market hadn't seen. So I'd always say pooling and pooling the talent you have around you.
Fantastic. I mean, that is something that I would not have really thought about as being one of the main advantages, but it is one of the most obvious advantages, I guess, of being in such a market. So well said. Now, Ramon,
100%.
yep, 100%, Ramon. I mean, we have to wrap up, but before we do, of course, because we could go on and on with this conversation, knowing the three of us on this on this show right now, we could go on and on. But before you leave, any wise words that you would like to leave our entrepreneurs and business leaders with?
Well, I mean, you must have passion. 90% of it is passion. You must have it must excite you in the morning when you get up, after you have said your prayers or your different devotions to the God that you serve, and you make sure your family in check and everybody in check. That passion must come shining through. And I always tell my staff always makes a joke at the office. They know when I come to the office because I run up the stairs and they hear the energy coming up the stairs, and it sort of excites them for the day. At one point, it used to get them nervous because they thought I was coming with some new idea and it would scare them. But then over time, you realize now they're just a man excited to come to work and to share his ideas, to bounce ideas off of each other. And that what I think is what one of the big selling points of Lucent. So you must have a passion for what you do. You must have a passion for learning. More importantly, you must have an open mind. You can't be a closed-minded businessman. It only goes so far. And if I always believe I knew everything and my way or no way, I don't think we'd have made 20 years, to be quite honest. So it's really about passion, having an open mind, but then just have a willingness to give back and learn and share. Because sometimes as entrepreneurs, we believe that we want to make this mighty dollar and it's at all costs, and you put everything to your chest. And if you want a sector to grow and to thrive, and that is your legacy that you have left to the market, you really have to give information and share so that you could get information coming back to you. And that's how a sector grows. But everybody's staying in a silo and one or two people grow and then at the expense of everybody else. So I partner with other research agencies. I partner with research consultants. I learn, and they learn from me and I learn from them. So always be willing and open. I mean, guard some of your professional secrets. At the end of the day, those are the things that make you unique. But at the same time, there's more than enough business for everybody. There's more than enough opportunities for everybody once you focus your business in a particular way.
Fantastic. And I mean, they always say Knowledge is power, but the
Mhm.
sharing of knowledge is what makes you powerful.
Mhm.
So thank you so very much, Ramon Gregorio, our guest tonight on the Big Potato Podcast. What an episode to kick off season 4.
Well, I just wanted to wrap up with a brief story,
Mm-hmm.
real brief. So, as you know, I am the regional sales manager for a company called Pies. Now, Pies is an analytics company out of Silicon Valley. Shout out to the CEO, Mr. Prabhat Singh. All right. Now, I've been trying to bring this product to the Caribbean. I just want to leave you all with a story. And as I said, you're having conversations with some serious conglomerates, right? And one of the examples we use in the meetings is always the Air Force example, because one of our clients, or major clients, is the American Air Force. But you know, in Top Gun, you'll see guy Tom Cruise run to the plane and just jump in the plane and take off. In reality, that's a 15-hour process.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing what mission the plane is for, making sure you have the right armaments for it, the right everything for it, for the mission. We brought that using data from 15 hours to 15 minutes. So now it's a 15-minute wait time to be able to take off and go on to a mission from 15 hours. So that I just want to say that example because it shows the power of data and using the insights from the data and using that for efficiencies and productivity and just transforming the business. 15 hours, 15 minutes on a battleship with planes taking off is as crucial.
Yeah. Critical. So entrepreneurs, as always, tell you guys, find the opportunities, but most importantly, take action. And tonight's message, manage your data. Collect
Manage your
it
data.
and make sure and use it to lead your business and to make decisions. Thank you so very much, Ramon Gregorio. And of course, on behalf of my co-host Stuart, your Shudi Kendall, we are checking out for tonight. Stay tuned because we have lots going on this season on the Big Potato Podcast. Stick around.
Thanks, guys.
Entrepreneurship, it's all game. The Big Potato Podcast is yours to claim. From startups to scaling up, we cover it all. So don't mess up. Monday nights, don't miss the show with Kendall and Stuart. Your time to grow, listen up. Take notes and learn. The Big Potato Podcast, next gen's turn. It's next gen's turn.